All right, welcome to the first Cuboh Restaurant Tech Podcast. So on this podcast, we're going to be covering everything from restaurant technology, restaurant operations, virtual kitchens, marketing, third-party tools, and a whole bunch more. But to start it off, we're going to be kicking off with one of the most interesting topics in the restaurant industry right now, and that is ghost kitchens. So ghost kitchens are this idea of having an online-only restaurant concept. Right now, there are a ton of benefits for operators. First, there's the lower startup cost, the lower capital. Without the need for renting a really premium location with great foot traffic and some nice curb appeal, and without having to pay for furniture to create the ambiance inside, and without the need for hiring a front of house staff, there's really far lower startup costs associated. The next benefit is incremental revenue. Having a ghost kitchen allows restaurants to add incremental revenue to their business using their existing equipment and existing ingredients to actually grow their business. Another benefit is improved margins. We've seen an example from Barbecue Holdings where they were reported restaurants showing a 100 to 167% increase in profit margins. So that's like going from about a 10% profit margin to a 20 to 26% profit margin. Like a massive jump. Another benefit that I don't think should be overlooked is the creativity ghost kitchens unlock. So if you've ever worked in a traditional brick and mortar restaurant, you know that customers like consistency, right? They like for things to be the same every time they visit. And that means menus can kind of stagnate. Chefs can sometimes get bored. This can lead to a drop in food quality as people get complacent. Ghost kitchens don't have this problem. Because you can rethink how you're using space by not having a front of house, and because you can create new brands that utilize your existing equipment without risking the established brand, you can experiment with different types of foods, different customer segments, and experiment with different types of creativity without risking the establishment. It's a really cool concept, and it's taking the restaurant industry by storm right now. There are a couple of concepts that I'd like to quickly define before we jump into this any further, and that's ghost kitchen versus a virtual brand. So a ghost kitchen is a cooking facility that's used for the preparation of food consumed off premises, right? It's a bit of a bland description, but essentially we're talking about a cooking facility without a front of house that serves food through delivery apps and online ordering. A virtual brand, on the other hand, is when a traditional existing restaurant, existing location, decides to create an online-only concept and then serve that up through delivery apps and online menus. So it can be a little bit confusing to understand the difference between like a ghost kitchen, a host kitchen, a virtual brand, a commissary kitchen. There's other terms that get thrown around. But the main difference between a ghost kitchen and a virtual brand is that simply a ghost kitchen does not operate from a pre-existing restaurant. They get a new location, whereas a virtual kitchen operates out of an existing restaurant. If you're not all that familiar with ghost kitchens, or you've just started hearing about them, seeing their name pop up all over the place in different publications and websites and things, you might kind of be wondering where they came from. Now, really, it all started with online ordering and delivery apps. When these apps started taking off, restaurants saw this and was like, "Well, okay, this is interesting. This is a great way to maybe reach some new customers, increase my sales." But as time went on, it became more and more clear that online ordering was the future of the restaurant industry. Today, with Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats, there are 38 million Americans using food delivery apps. There are other apps as well. And so as these delivery apps started to really take off, restaurants looked at this and thought, wait a second, I don't even need seating. I can let someone else deliver my food to customers and they can just eat it at home. And so this is having a massive impact on the restaurant industry. At the same time, we have COVID hit, we have the pandemic hit. And so when the pandemic hit, 110,000 restaurants closed their doors permanently in America. Over the next few years, thousands, tens of thousands more. And so at the same time as you have this virtual dining revolution, we have these restrictions and regulations. And so ghost kitchens allowed restaurants to increase their sales without the headache of having to deal with the public, without the challenges of having to deal with the COVID regulations. It's a super interesting concept, and tons of savvy entrepreneurs are jumping on the trend. Mr. Beast Burger launched 100 locations in a single night. And I don't think that'd be possible if you tried to do that with physical locations. The capital and the coordination required, it would be just a massive undertaking. But it's not just big companies, right? It's not just big companies. Even small mom and pop traditional restaurants are adding hundreds, thousands of dollars of daily incremental revenue to their business with these virtual brands. It's a really exciting topic, and one that we're going to be covering more in different angles and more in depth in coming episodes. But that wraps up the first episode of the Cuboh Restaurant Tech Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. But in the meantime, I'll just say thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day.